When the First World War began, King Constantine I of Greece declared neutrality on the grounds that he had strong family ties with the German dynasty. However, Prime Minister Venizelos wanted to enter the war alongside the British and take a share of Ottoman lands. When this demand was not met, the Allied powers led by Britain decided to bomb Greece. The justification was that King Constantine was secretly helping Germany. But this was actually a cunning idea of Venizelos. A result, King Constantine abdicated the throne and left the country to his young son. Alexander I was only 24 years old. He was inexperienced, and the shrewd politician Venizelos had practically enchanted him, and Alexander had no intention of opposing Venizelos. Toward the end of the First World War, he declared war on the Ottoman Empire and Germany. And when the war ended, the British, in return for his loyalty, promised Venizelos his greatest dream, the Megali idea, or Greater Greece. During this time, the king left the administration of the country to Venizelos, spent time in his palace with the dogs he loved very much, went on car rides with his lover, and conducted speed trials. He was, in a sense, enjoying his kingship. With Prime Minister Venizelos persuading the British, Greek soldiers entered Turkish land, İzmir, on May 15, 1919. The king immediately approved this. His father, the former king, stated that this was wrong, that Greece should remain a small and honorable state, and that the war would bring nothing to Greece. But his words were no longer valid. After Greek forces captured İzmir, this development awakened the Turks who had long been asleep, and under the leadership of the famous Turkish general Mustafa Kemal Pasha, a resistance movement began. However, since America, Britain and France stood behind the Greek army, many cities were occupied by the Greek army before the Turks could organize. The king even organized trips to these occupied cities. Everywhere he went, he was welcomed like a hero without doing anything. For this reason, he was grateful to Prime Minister Venizelos. But as the war progressed, Greece's economy began to deteriorate slowly, and as Turkish resistance grew day by day, a group within the country that favored peace and wanted the return of the former king began to raise its voice. Despite this, the 27-year-old charismatic king was expected to remain at the head of the country for at least another 50 years, because Europe and Greek nationalists supported him. But then, an event that no one could have imagined occurred. As he did every morning, the king went out into the garden first for a walk and then for a motor trip. Beside him was Fritz, the German shepherd dog that had been gifted to him by the British. As the king walked with his dog toward the house of the royal building guard's term, the dog suddenly jumped into the bushes. The king went toward the place where screams were heard. He saw the dog fighting with a monkey and holding the monkey in its mouth. Just as he moved to rescue the monkey, a second monkey, Moritz, bit the king on the calf and hand in order to save his female mate. The guard's term immediately rescued the king and took him to the palace. The king informed only the people he trusted about the incident. A doctor arrived and stated that the situation was not serious, stopped the bleeding with minor dressings, but as of that night, the condition began to worsen. The amputation of the king's leg was planned, but it was abandoned on the grounds that even this would not be beneficial. The most famous 12 doctors treated the king, but he died 1 week later. This increased loyalty to the monarchy. 1 week later, elections were held in the country, and the exiled father king won this election while Venizelos lost. The return of the pro-German former king to the throne provoked the reaction of the British and the French. Despite this, the king stated that he would continue the war with the Turks and take more land in order to maintain British and French support. However, these sudden decisions and the king's efforts to prove himself, combined with the planned attacks of the Turks and the deepening split within the Greek army between Venizelists and Royalists, led to the Greeks losing the war on every front. Seeing that the course of the war had changed, the French cut off aid to Greece and signed an agreement with the Turks. The British made one last effort to help the Greek forces, but the Greek army, unable to make use of this aid, lost the war and withdrew from Turkish lands. Yes, friends, we have come to the end of another one of our videos. You can subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Stay well.